Hey everyone, this is Paula, and this is my channel Stitching in High Heels, where I talk about my love of cross stitch, my collecting of cross stitch charts from time to time, and occasionally some other crafts like crocheting or sewing that I do sometimes. But my main hobby is cross stitch. If you're new, welcome. I know I've got picked up a couple of new subscribers since the last time we chatted, and welcome. I'm very happy to have you here. For my returning subscribers, thank you to you as well. I really appreciate you. I appreciate that you've stuck with me. As I know in the past I've had a pretty erratic recording schedule. I'm here today. It's February 25th, 2024, and I'm going to get through a quick update video with you guys. I've got to go to work this afternoon, so I wanted to get this filmed so I can hopefully get it uploaded today for you, but I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to just jump right in. Itchy floss tube knows. What is that? So I'm going to jump right in and go through what I've got to share with you guys. I've got some big news on one of my projects that I'm really excited about. So the first thing I've got to share with you is actually a start and a finish. This is one of my WIPGO calls. This is for my ornament board. If you're new here, WIPGO is a bingo style challenge that's run by Jessie Marie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff. She's got a Facebook group as well for it. And essentially what you do is you set up a bingo style board. You fill in different goals that you want to meet throughout the month, throughout the year. And she calls 2 numbers a month unless the free space in the middle, the center space is called in the middle, and then that month there's 3. So I set up 3 boards for this year. One is a normal WIP or work in progress board where I listed out projects that I want to see progress on this year. And my goal for each one of those is 4 days. And to me, 4 days is just pulling it out and having a stitching session 4 times. Sometimes that's only an hour if that's all I have that day. Sometimes if it's a weekend and the weather's bad and we're not doing anything, it could be 4 or 5 hours. So that's my goal for that. I have another board, which if you watched my last video, if you saw my last video, I have a bunch of ornaments that I have stitched but never finished into an FFO or fully finished object to be able to display. So historically what's held me back is I'll pull them out of the container that they're all stored in, and there's, I think it was 28 of them when I counted them up, and it just got so overwhelming that I would put them all back. So this way I have 2 ornaments to finish per month. It makes it a little more less intimidating is what I want to say. And by only thinking about 2 at a time, I found it really a lot of fun to figure out how to finish them off. Like I said, my February calls I showed last video, I got them done. And then the third board that I have is to start several ornaments back. I think my notes go between 2001 and 2004, or maybe 2002 and 2004. When the Just Cross Stitch ornament issue came out, there was a shop, and I believe at the time it was Silk Weavers. They would sell ornament cuts, and not necessarily hand-dyed. Some of it's standard fabric like you'll see today. They would sell ornament cuts for several of the ornaments in each issue. So I had ordered cuts for ornaments that I swore that I needed to stitch and was gonna stitch, and then I promptly stored those cuts away in a shoebox, and here it is somewhere in the area of 20 years later, and I figured it was probably time to finally stitch some of these. So that's my third board. And that's a whole long roundabout way to show you my finish for this episode, which was also a start. So it's a start and a finish. And this will be Joy. This is Joy Needle Roll, and it was by Jeanette Douglas. And I think this was the 2003 ornament issue. She did 3 or 4 of them. I have 2 of them hanging on my tree already. There's Love and Peace, which are both on my tree, and this is Joy. So the stitching is all done on this. I used let me think. The red thread is the called for. It was a Needle Necessities, or now it's Threadworks. The green is not the green that was called for. It's another Threadworks I had in my stash that I substituted in. The two metallics that you can't really see, they're in these rows here. Oh, maybe you can see if I get, it doesn't focus. Come on, focus. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. It's not going to focus real well. The metallics are just Krennics that I had in my stash. And the gold thread, which is DMC here, was supposed to be DMC with blending filament, and I left the blending filament out. So I'm pleased with how that came out. I'm not sure if this will get FFO'd this year, or I may save my ornaments that so my goal on the ornament board is to get a good start. If I can finish the ornament like this one, that's even better. This was a small, fun piece to stitch. But I'm hoping that I will get at least most of them finished this year, so maybe I will save them for a WIPGO board for next year if that works well for me. So that was my finish for this episode. I've got a bunch of WIPs that I touched, thanks to both WIPGO and a challenge that Laura's doing on her Facebook group, Stitching by the Shore Laura. She also has a Flosstube channel, also called Stitching by the Shore. She just put up a fun challenge on her group, an I Spy challenge, and she gave us several prompts. And it was fun because when I wasn't working on my WIPGO challenges, it kind of gave me some ideas of other pieces to pull out. So a couple of them, I'll let you know when they were part of Laura's challenge, and I'll link her information down below so you can check it out. Just a fun challenge, just kind of a way to maybe inspire us to work on some of the WIPs that we wouldn't have worked on this month otherwise. So first up is one of my WIPGO calls, and this is My Necessity by Heart and Hand Needleworks, or I'm sorry, Heartstring Samplery. Wow, sorry about that. And so this is part of her coffee series, and the words on it say, "You're the cream in my coffee, you're the lace in my shoe, my necessity, I'd be lost without you." And let me get things organized a little better over here. So here's where I'm at with this. I'm stitching this on 32 count Winter Moon Belfast, which is a standard Zweigart color, and I'm using thread gatherers. Wow. Sorry guys, I'm all discombobulated today. Gentle Arts Cinders is the color that I'm using. So this month I stitched this band of hearts. That was a lot of fun, and that was a really good pattern, and you saw that last time. I stitched the words, My Necessity, and I started on this band, which is a bunch of coffee beans. And you can kind of see there that the cinders, it's a really cool color. It's mostly black-ish with some red in it as well. And this skein, I started a new skein when I started this row, and you can see over here it's got some little more red sections than some of the previous skeins. So making really good progress on that, and I'm really happy with where I got to on that. This might be a finish this year if I pull it out some other times, because I've got to finish up the coffee bean row, which is right there. I've got this cool, sorry, there's some glare there, this band here, then there's the words, I'd be lost without you, and two more pattern bands down there. So these tend to go pretty quickly, so maybe I can knock this out as a finish this year. We'll see. That's one of those it would be nice kind of goals, but I'm not going to push hard to do it, at least at this point in the year. Next was my other WIPGO call for this month, which is Siam Fusion, and I've showed you guys this before. This is by Sampler Cove, and I think I forget what the copyright date on this is, but you can see it's an old enough chart that there's an actual photograph on the cover, and I'm doing this bigger motif sampler right here. So And I'm stitching this on 28 count chalkboard linen, which says Weigart linen. And I'm using the called for Caron collection silks. I think they're called Soie Cristal. So here's where I got to. I'm really pleased with my progress on this. I started in the center. These two motifs here were the center. So I got them all finished up. I stitched this anchor thing down here. And you'll see some partial motifs, and pretty much what I'm doing is when I have a cut of thread, I go to another nearby area and just stitch out to the end of the thread. Because I'm storing my threads in floss away bags for this, and it's easier to just use up a length of thread for me than to put it in the bag and have to fish out a partial length and get started on that. So that's just how I'm doing that. And then my other ornament call for this month, and I apologize, I didn't bring a picture of this one up because it's finished except for a couple of beads and some cut thread work. So this is Joy of the Holidays, and this is by Needle Play Designs, and I think you can see the white work in there. So all this centerpiece here, I've got to cut and weave bars. That's hardhanger work. So I'm hoping I'll talk about this in my plans, but I'd like to get this one finished by the end of the month. Just need some time to sit down and be able to concentrate. I don't know about you guys if you do hardhanger, but no matter how often I do it, and I've done a lot of Victoria's sampler pieces, so I'm not a complete stranger to it, but it still makes me nervous every time I start cutting those threads. I know how to fix it if I cut a wrong one, but I'd really rather not make the mistake. So I just need some time to sit and concentrate on that. So now we're moving on to other pieces, and this next one, this is definitely a couple of prompts in Laura's I Spy challenge, but this is Barbara Anna Designs. This one also I did for the Categories prompt in the WIP Warriors group. The letter this month was D, so it fit two prompts, designer name, Barbara Anna Designs, and then the name is Blue Dreams, and it was something related to humans, so I used dreams for the prompt. And got some nice progress on this too. This is a fun one. I'm stitching this on 32 count terracotta Lugana, which is a standard color, and it's the suggested fabric was a linen, but it was in this terracotta color. And I'm using all the called for DMCs. And here's where I've gotten to. I did a lot of work over here in her hair, got the lighter color in, finished up some of those sailboats. So very pleased with how far I got on this. This is a fun stitch. I mean, when you stitch, these colors are pretty much blocks, so there's not a lot of confetti stitching, but there's also a lot of areas to change up colors, which makes it fun and keeps it from getting too tedious. I wouldn't call it boring. Stitching's never really boring, but sometimes big blocks of colors can feel a bit tedious. I don't know about you guys, but I find that. And then the next piece up is, and I'm really excited about this one. This is one I'm actually hoping for a finish by the end of the month, if not by the end of February, then early in March. This is Earth Dancer by Butternut Road Designs. So there she is. This is another one, and copyright is 1992, and I've had her done up to the point of beads and the suede fringing. I don't even want to admit to how long that really is, but pretty close to a decade or more. So here she is. I've gotten all the beading done on her. I've just got to do the fringing on her dress, which I need to sit up here in my craft room to do this, so that's part of why she's not done yet, because I've been spending time in the evenings with my husband, and we'll sit and watch sports or something on TV, and it's hard to do to work with this big frame. You can see I've got her on, probably a 17 by 20 Q-snap by the time I've got all the extenders in here. So I'm going to move her in. You can see that beading on the bottom of her bodice of her dress. That was pretty intense to do, but I'm really pleased with how this came out. And then she's got these beaded ornaments on her dress and on her shoes and her pouch, her satchel. So I'm just thrilled to death with how she looks. Part of me says I'd love to leave her as she is without the fringing, but quite honestly, I bought the materials to do it, so I'm gonna do that, and I like the look of the cover model, so I think it'll be good to do her as she was called for. So that took me most of last weekend to get that beading done. I had a holiday weekend in the U.S. Monday was President's Day. I was fortunate enough to have it off, and I spent time Saturday, Sunday, and Monday getting that all beaded. It's well worth the effort. Hopefully the fringing won't take that long. It's just a matter of sitting down and doing it, I think. So hopefully, like I said, I have to work today, so it'll be tough to get up here today, but maybe an evening or two this weekend I'll be able to get her done. So, next up is, it was one of my ornament calls from January. It's A Little Joy by Just Nan. So if you can see there, there's a little charm in the middle with a tiny sampler. So I've gotten all of the stitching done on the outside piece. You can see here. I finished up this week the border around there and the back stitching on the trees. So that's all done. I do have a couple of beads to put in the center of each of these little flower motifs there. Probably when I do the beading on Joy of the Seasons, I'll probably pull them out and do that too. But the outside is all finished, so now all I've got to do is the stitching for that little charm in the middle, and that's all over 1 on 32 count. So I'm going to have to do that on a day when I have some good lighting and some patience and work on that. A lot of times I'll take my ornaments with me when I work, because they're easy to pick up and put down in between phone calls. And the other thing with that, the over 1 piece for that, the fabric is small enough. I'm going to have to work it in hand, and I normally work, you'd see Q-snaps or a hoop, or a frame of some sort. So I'm going to have to do that in hand, which sometimes isn't as easy for me, because I don't do it very often. I know there's some of you that stitch in hand all the time and you love it and you don't know how I stitch in a hoop, but so I don't know when that's going to get done. I hope that gets done by the end of the year. Like I said, it'll be some time when I have some patience and some good light to sit and just work on that. So more to come on that one. Also for Laura's I Spy challenge, she had pink was one of the prompts. So I pulled out Snapdragon by Nora Corbett Designs. She's part of the Flower Pixie series. So you can see she's got pink in her dress there. And she also fit the prompt for me because I am working on her on a piece of mystery pink fabric. And I say it's mystery pink fabric because I didn't have a tag on it with the name. I think I picked this up when Mary Jane's Cross and Stitch was closing and they were liquidating a bunch of their inventory. And I think it's an even weave, so I think it's a Lugana. And it's a real pretty pink color. It's looking a little more brownish than what it actually is here. Let's see if I bring it in. No. So I've got light behind me, so the colors aren't completely true. And then I worked over here in this section on her dress. So I started this, and the threads I'm using are the called for DMC threads, and she's 2 over 2 because it's a 28 count. So I started this at the Queen City Stitch Retreat in October with Kelly from Pages and Stitches. Her channel is Pages 3 Stitches. And I don't remember if she showed it in her last, I think I haven't watched her latest video. But she has worked on this intermittently since then as well. And she's stitching hers on a 32 count, I think it's like a pale green material. And hers is lovely too, and it's really interesting, you know how it is when you're working on a piece and other people are working on it, and you either start in a different spot or you do it on different fabrics and seeing how the same piece can look in 2 different ways. So definitely check Kelly out. She does a lot of great work. She's works on a variety of pieces, and she has quilting videos as well. And she's a lot of fun to watch. So I'll link her below. Go ahead and check her out as well. And my last but not least WIP for this time is Garden Verses, another Mirabilia. I'm pretty Mirabilia heavy, I guess, this episode. And there she is. And I've talked about her before, if you've seen any of my other videos. I actually started her and wanted to get her finished for the brag table at the Queen City retreat last year, and failed miserably at that. Her dress is a whole lot bigger than I even expected. I'm stitching her 2/2 on 32 count mushroom Lugana. I've had her kitted up so long. She's an earlier Mirabilia. She's from 1994. And so I kitted her up shortly after she came out, and we didn't have a lot of hand-dyed fabrics at the time, so I pretty much, and I didn't have as much experience as a stitcher either, so I kitted her up with the recommended fabric. Sorry about that, guys. My memory card got full on my camera, and I had to stop and start over. So, like I was talking, this is Garden Verses by Mirabilia Designs. She is an earlier Mirabilia, so she's copyrighted in 1994. So she doesn't have a lot of beads, and she does have 2 metallic threads. Both were the actually it was the old DMC thread on a spool, which was absolutely horrid to work with, and the 2 colors were that, and then that color blended with a dark brown cotton floss. So I switched out to use the Diamante, I don't know if any of us know how to say that right, thread on a spool. It still isn't my favorite. It isn't Petite Treasure Braid, but it's what I had. And I also had, I had a gold, and I had a gold that's wound with a black thread, so they kind of fit. And since I kitted her up right after she came out, didn't have a lot, we didn't have a lot of color choices for fabric. The hand-dyed fabrics weren't as readily available at that point in time. So she's on 32 count mushroom Lugana or Jobelin. I think it's Jobelin, mushroom Jobelin, 2/2 with the called for DMC threads. And here's where I'm at. She is still in the Q-snap because I've been working on her, and I've been working over in this section over here, which is part of her sleeve. And I've done the widest part of the design. So this is her arm here. This is the paper on her lap. So I'm finishing up the part of the sleeve by her elbow here, and this goes up and goes into, there we go. So I've been working right in here. I always do this backwards. All right, let's get the glare out of the way. So I've been working over in here right above this purple piece, and we'll go up. I'm still debating. My husband thinks I should turn her into a redhead, since her hair will be some of the last stuff that we do. I'll decide that as we go. But she's still on the Q-snaps. She is on my WIPGO board, WIPGO board for 2 calls. 2 calls? Several calls, because I really do. She's another one that I do want to get done this year. If I can get her done and Earth Dancer done, I'll be ecstatic, because those are 2 bigger WIPs finished. And then last but not least, this is actually a new start, and it's a WIP because I didn't have a lot of time to actually stitch on it, but also because it's too big for a single stitching session. And this is To All a Good Night by Autumn Lane Designs. And this has been released. It is readily available now. I got it, however, as a part of the Nice List box by the Black Needle Society last year. And I'm going to the Queen City Stitch Retreat in October again. And the featured designer this year is Autumn Lane Stitchery. So this was the perfect push to get this started. It's all blues, which are some of my favorite colors. and I've been wanting to stitch an autumn lane because I see you guys stitching them and they all look like fun. So the cool part about this design is that all of this white that you see, the snowflakes, the white snow down here, that's all negative space. So that's not stitched, which is really cool. And the fabric that was provided as part of the Nice List box was actually a opalescent. I think it's a Cashel. I don't think it's Belfast. I think it's 28 count. And so the snow will have a little bit of sparkle with it too. So here's where I started. I started with the house in the middle with the houses there, if you can see. So that was just you know, an hour or so of stitching time. So I'm going to keep this out. I may take this to work with me later, since it's not terribly complicated. I'm at a spot where there's some decent amounts of coverage, so there's not a lot of counting around that negative space. But more to come on that, because I would like to have that done for the Brad table in October, which is probably a kiss of death for that to be a finish. But we'll see. So that's all the progress that I have to share with you. I've been having some thoughts about some other things to do in addition to just showing current progress. And if you guys would let me know below which of these you'd like. I'm going to be going through my stash of charts, and I really need to thin out the herd, so to speak. I've got way more, you know, when I first found the internet, the acronym SABLE, or Stash Acquisition Beyond Life Expectancy, was kind of a joke, because of the stage where I was in my life, and you know, I didn't want it. I was in my late 20s, early 30s, and that seemed like forever. And I've been collecting steadily over the whole time, and some of it is my taste has changed, and there's some of those charts that I just don't see myself stitching anymore. Some of it is that I'm trying to be a little bit realistic about what I am going to stitch, and kind of other folks this year have used the word intentional. So I'm going to be going through my charts. Would you guys like to see some of them as I go through them? Maybe some of them are some older charts, ideas of things that maybe you guys didn't know were out there, or just kind of a general interest thing. And these don't have to be mutually exclusive, but the other thing I was thinking about sharing is some of my previous finishes, like I did in the last video with my dragons. I've got other pieces that I've stitched but not finished. So let me know below if you have interest in either, both, none. Just show me the progress and move on. Let me know. I'll be curious to see what you guys have to say. So that's all of that. Plans for the next 2 weeks. Today's the 25th, so Jessie Marie will be calling the new WIPGO calls. So I'll have about a week's worth of progress on something from WIPGO, whether it's ornaments or whips or whatever, before we meet again, hopefully, if things go according to plan. And I haven't looked. She may have posted those calls already. It's 12:15 Eastern time, so I don't know if she's pulled that yet. I just haven't gone looking. But I won't be starting them till March 1st. So before that, I'm going to keep stitching, maybe To All a Good Night, maybe Snapdragon, if I can get to it. Like I said, I'd love to finish Earth Dancer. So we'll see where that goes. So that's my plans. And I know I mentioned before, I'm kind of minimizing my collecting in addition to culling the herd with my stash of charts. So I don't have any haul. I do have a fairly prodigious wish list from Market, which is next weekend, and I know people have been placing pre-orders, and there's lots of great stuff out there. So I do have quite a lengthy wish list. Fortunately, none of the things that I wanted are listed as Market exclusives, so I can certainly wait until I do some purchasing to pick them up. And so that's about it for me. Life stuff, I think I've mentioned before, my husband and I are in the process of planning to move to Tennessee. We're hoping within the next 18 months to be there. So that also plays into culling my stash and what I have to pack and lug. But in lieu of that, I did have an interview, a job interview, Friday. It was a remote interview for the state of Tennessee. That job would be located in Nashville, which really wasn't our first choice of parts of Tennessee to move to, just because we've been told it's more expensive than other parts of the state. But that was an interesting experience. It's been 20 years since I went on a job interview. And when I interviewed for the position that I have now, it was actually just meeting with a whole lot of folks that I already knew and had worked with previously. So I'm not sure what they thought of me. I honestly, I have no idea how that interview went. I walked out of there, no clue. They said they'd be making some calls Monday and Tuesday for people who move on to the next round, so we'll see. It is kind of early for us in the process of moving, but I did want to start getting some interviews done to get back into practice with that. Plus, which it was a position in the emergency management field, that's what I got my degree in last May. So I thought that might be an opportunity to move into that field and out of where I'm at. Other than that, business as usual here at Chateau Wilson. It's February, so there's hope that spring is coming, although we've had the coldest weather this week that we've had pretty much all winter. And we've had some snow, and it's going to warm up for a while, and then it's going to be spring. So that's it for me. I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to get off of here so I can hopefully get these two pieces stitched together and get this video uploaded for you guys. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. Make a little time for you. We can't take care of other people appropriately if we don't take care of ourselves. So stitching time is not necessarily selfish, it's self-care. And I'll see you soon. Love ya.